Hi, this is Sean Murphy of SK Murphy. I'll be the MC for today's Patka Lunch and Learn on optimizing product outcomes. We are fortunate to have David Bachny as our presenter. David has a BSEE and an MS in engineering management. He has more than 30 years of experience developing technology products and leading the teams that created them. He's served over 400 clients, building cross-functional teams that delivered over 20 complex products and programs. He is currently an Agile coach, a technical management consultant, and an instructor of project management and Agile courses at the Silicon Valley campus of UCSC and Northeastern University. David.
Thank you so much, Sean. I don't think I could have done a better introduction than you did. I appreciate that. For today, we're going to go very brief introduction about the constraints and restraints, about the affecting different success and failure factors, sustainability of different structures, how we foster teams. What are the mission, vision? How do we form? What do we do about way of what we're doing? In IBM forms, it's called way of work. And then we dive into building the Agile. A short introduction, as I said, Sean did better than I could do. By the way, we will provide the PDF format of this slide deck for you guys. I appreciate if you keep all your comments for the end of all the QA comments for the end, because I have a lot of information that I've gathered here to share with you. Please bear with me. I dive directly into what we're doing. What are the different factors? I have probably about 140 different factors. I have just, as you see, I step of what I have gathered during the years, and I'm sharing with you. Let's dive into and have a short pause on few of them. Cultural differences, communication in cultural differences, geographical issues, legals, politics, integrating different management styles, frameworks, mindsets. Then again, we're talking about the procurement. And as you know, there's a big backlog of procurement thanks to different areas of managing how to transport from area to area. Then again, we're talking about planning, and you all have heard that project management is like about planning and executing. And we'll dive into what happens if we plan everything like to the minutes and points and pennies, and it just falls apart. What about our stakeholders? What are we doing with regulatory issues? Are we capturing IP laws and aligning whatever we're doing with regulations and restrictions on hazmat and other area? Are we following the import and export processes? What about the ad hoc, something comes up and government stops importing or exporting from different area? So many different factors that affect success or failure of a project. And the data that I have, as I said, is probably an iceberg on what we have seen about factors that affecting the outcome of projects and programs is staggering. And I'm going to share just few of them with you today. A few numbers. 70% of all projects fail. 42% of the companies do not value the importance of project management. Last night I was talking with a friend, a retired CIO, president of a section at Cisco, and I was just sharing few of these points, and he kind of pointed out, David, 20 years ago, we didn't, anytime we heard about project management at Cisco, we were saying, that's an impediment by itself. Now we realize that project management is so important. That is that's the voice of a retired CEO. And that is what we're seeing at different polls that are coming from PMI, Gallup, and others, why project management is being looked at so kind of deterrent, impediment. What happens to project overrun? What happens to, oh my God, only 62% of the completed projects have support of sponsors. Oops. And then look at the last line. Only 2.5% of companies successfully completed 100% of what they wanted to accomplish. Okay, failure has big spectrum. What do we mean by failure? Even a project is completed based on what customers have asked, sometimes run into red lines, into failure spectrum. Why? Because they have not produced exactly what PMI calls as triple constant or golden triangle: scope, time, and cost. If they don't follow exactly what we have planned up front and wanted to achieve, then it is kind of failure. However, the last line is important. Okay, and these are, as I said, these are probably 10% of what I'm sharing with you. Project managements are poorly trained. Do you see that? This is Gallup's. And that's contributing to high factor of failures. Life cycle. Depending on market demand, cultural or business needs, and other things, we go through this life cycle, at least by ITIL, Prince2, PMI, and ISO 21500. We go through planning, which is looking at scope and getting all the requirements, scheduling, cost controlling, resource and team planning, and all the inclusive, and I'm expressing inclusive communication of all stakeholders. Then we start going through executing. In general, it's cooperation of all parties involved. And then we go through, oh my God, waterfall is what we have all heard about, right? You see that 4 sectors of requirement: design, construction, and implementation, and we follow like religiously, like we plan. We plan. We know how important is planning, and then we follow on execution, and then we go through monitoring and controlling, and that is that's the factor, controlling what we have planned to be produced. And then we call it waterfall because we are masters of planning, right? Have you seen any 2 projects being the same or following the same rule? I have not. We have 49 different processes by PMBOK, PMI's PMBOK. I have not seen a lot, even have not heard large projects like building shuttle. Or even right now, I have one of the leaders in PM of building the fast train in California that's kept over budgeting. Followed the exact 49 processes of PMBOK. We don't. Sometimes we meet, sometimes we just overlook. That's why I mean, not all waterfall models are the same. We need to look at things and projects and impediments and all the affecting factors together. That leads me to what is in store for us as project managers. You see, we have followed project management for about 50, 60 years. In the past 20 some years, we have We have come up with Agile, and now it's become a buzzword. And what is in store for us as project managers? And I'm thinking about, I'm a technologist. Let's think about project lifecycle 2.0 and what we come and what we mean by that is how we move from monitoring and controlling into providing and building values. Going through and from initiation, from ideation to products and services with minimally viable value that we provide to our customers. And we learn from what we've been doing and we bring it back. And that's why some of these values, I'm just borrowing from Agile, is emphasizing on individuals and interactions. Not that processes are not important, not that we downgrade tools. We need tools to get data, to gather data, to understand and create information out of it. But individuals are doing the projects. Therefore, interaction among us stands higher. The working end product is the real measurable value that we have generated. Not that we're not considering documentation. Without documentation, we don't have anything to refer to. Of course, we work through the documentation from the day that we start building, but the end result, the working product, is the real value that we bring to our customers. And that is where we stand on collaborating with the customers, not cooperating with customers. And there are differences, and we'll talk about that if I have some brief moment on that. And it is, you're all contractors, right? Consultants. Without a contract and therefore negotiation, we don't have a job. But what about we collaborate with our customers, even during the contracting and writing the contract? What about we emphasize on what my customer needs and wants, as opposed to I put it there so I can handcuff my customer, and then it's to respond to changes. We plan, definitely we're the masters of planning. We learn about planning and how we look at different constraints and restraints of different aspects and milestones, deliverables. But then again, what happens if a change comes up? Meaning that when we plan, even our customer or our end user wouldn't foresee about what we're providing, and something comes up. Are we going to stop the project? Or are we going to provide a product that is not going to be fully utilized and used by our customers? That's why I'm emphasizing, please, let's look at the end product. What is the minimally viable product that we provide to our customers? And then continuously deliver to our customer, not waiting till the end of the project. If we capture what our customers want, if we capture the end results, milestones, at the time, we'll have a lot of value providing to our customers as just the cooperating with customer to build what they've initially thought they wanted to. That's why different frameworks are just frameworks. They are not divine or written on stone kind of rules and techniques. They are tools for us to use and become a servant leader as opposed to just a manager. The era of management is, I think, gone. That's why I'm talking about project lifecycle 2.0. And we're leading towards building next generation leadership by agile mindset, how we can sustain the growth as opposed to just going back and 20 years from now, look at different polls and saying that, oops, yeah, we used to have 70% of project failing. Now we're really improving. We are only 65% of the projects failing. That's not improvement. And then along the way, what I'm thinking is from projects, processes, and I'm leading towards branding what we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing is together. We start learning together, and it's not just peer learning, it's across from bottom up, top down, and across the organization. We share together, we build, we start testing, verifying what we've done, what we've built, then we embrace that awareness of how we're working together, collaboratively, iteratively. Any tools that we can utilize, from design thinking to sprint thinking to any way that we can embrace collective support of team members, of project and program members. And that is what I'm talking about, this mindset. And it's not easy to get it. It's a way of life that our body biologically have followed without us knowing anything about it throughout the past hundreds of thousands of years that we have evolved to where we are. If we could learn from the evolution, we can bring that back and hopefully build the more sustainable growth pattern. And that's why I'm leading and I'm going towards supporting and leading by example, not just managing things, planning and making sure that we follow through all the milestones. Who has done what and is behind? Not we'll get someone else to do. And that is monitoring. That is perfectly controlling. I think we're going away, if not gone yet, from that controlling point. We are coming together by active listening and engaging with our community, building the trust, embracing the human factors, and fostering the community of growth. That's why when I'm thinking about how we can do that, nothing comes better than mentoring and helping each other on the road, on the path, sharing what we know with each other. I cannot know everything. I depend on my community to help me. And that's why I'm talking about emotional intelligence. We get to a point that we need each other's. It's not about like need in sense of if we don't have, nothing is going to happen. We need to embrace and grow together. And that requires emotional intelligence. And then it's the servant leadership. Instead of who does what, when, how, let's think about it. We are in it all together. My failure indirectly reflects on my profession's failure, believe it or not. And we have seen that. How many times you've gone to a conversation saying that Agile is not working in our environment? Well, yes, it shouldn't, because you're looking at Agile like a set of rules. It either works or it doesn't work. It is not the mindset. You're coming like a carpenter with a sledgehammer in your hand, and whatever problem you see is like a nail. Bang it. That's not how we do. A carpenter has toolbox using different tools. That's why when I'm talking about iteratively forming, norming, and growing together is different than looking at every problem and just hammering it. As I said, we are all in it together. And when I'm looking at different areas and different points I was talking about, from professional coaching, training area, we are way behind of training, way behind. Gallup shows that about 65% of organizations don't value retraining their leadership, with a very simple notion. Well, we're paying a high price for them. They should train themselves. Then again, what happens, because they're overworked, and this training and growing our workforce just starts lagging, that affects the success of projects and programs. And when I'm putting this content knowledge work with process knowledge work and domain knowledge, look at that green line. It's going to reintroduce and reinvent itself. And that's the agile mindset I'm talking about. And last but not the least, you see the title I have, community at your service. Let's pause on that before I dive into the slide. What I mean by community is what we are in it. It's what you are here. That's the community I'm not talking about. And this community is at your service. If we can identify and link together and utilize this community as it by far is at our service. That's why I'm thinking about how I can commit to lead, not wait for leadership, but step up and take the charge. And that is the problem in projects. In projects that project managers are chasing people to do their job, it's going to fall apart. And it doesn't matter how small or large it is. That's why I embrace, I love to see people standing up and question. Have you noticed that 40 years, 30 years ago, all children were so nice, so good? Daddy would say, do this. Yes, sir. Mommy say, do that. Yes, sir. What happened to new generation in the past 20 years? You say, could you please give me a glass of water? I say, why? Could you help me on finding this map that I'm going to go? Why? Meaning that, why can't you do that? If you ask for help, I'll show you once, twice, 10 times, but don't depend on me. And that's what I love about this new generation. They're questioning as opposed to following. I love them. Don't you? That's why I'm really looking at courageously responding to new ideas. Decide, commit, focus, and together we will succeed. We will succeed only if we train our leaders not to lead but serve. Oh, for God. Look, how many of us have thought about, I'm not the program manager. I'm not the technical program manager. I'm here to serve my community to do their job the best they can, because whoever in my team is better than I am. See, if I have a software background, I have engineering, hardware, software background. Regardless of what project I work, my team members know better than I do in their own expert area. My work is to make sure that I build a focused mission. I go to and get help from, get trained from organizations that can help me directly or indirectly, from my community. I need to realize my shortcomings before I can help everybody else. So I need to retrain myself. How I can retrain? I come to this meeting like today and share the information and learn about different different frameworks, techniques, tools from educational institutions. At least here around us, we have Stanford. In Boston, we have MITs. You know, in North America, all these educational institutions are linked together, and they're providing the latest data and information that they're gathering from industry. That's what we need. We need to get relinked within our community. And this is this expert tool, the expert talent pool that we are here. As I said at the beginning, I have not seen so many experts under one room, 20. Right now we have 13 of us, 12 of us. Each one of you is an expert in your field. And when it comes to large projects, we can get together. We can move way beyond what we think. The other thing is, quite frankly, if a group of project and program managers, leaders get together in a volunteer base, few hours a week, and they create a community, a global community of agile thinking project and program managers, by large, for paying organizations, if they're failing on building their own community and their own brand, whose fault is it? It is us at leadership of those organizations, I think, because we're not embracing this one for all for one kind of mindset when it comes to project, program, our organization, the growth of our organization, sustainability of what we're doing, if we're believing in the product and services that we're providing to our community. If we can do it as volunteers, I bet companies like Google with billions, companies like Apple with trillions of dollars in their bank account can do much better. That is, if they embrace their leadership and help them grow their community from within and out. We don't want to be part of that 70% failure in projects and programs. We can do better. We can do much better. At our organization, we can create our own legacy. Please, let's get help from our community, from the team that we're connected here and outside. Each one of you has at least 1,000 people in your LinkedIn. How many times have you reached out to any one of them when you wanted to have a point, or you wanted to just polish what you thought? And that's what I'm thinking, by building your legacy at your own organization. And quite frankly, that's what I mean by contact me, contact us. Why me? Because I can link you together. I contact you when I need your help, so you can link me to somebody who can help me better. And that's what I'm talking about, contacting our community. These are few information about me, and quite frankly, let me know if there is any need for full-time, part-time, ad hoc, any kind of project management, program management, technology leadership. Let me know if I can help. I'm available, and I ended. Hey, I'm good at 30 minutes, Sean. How am I doing?
You taking questions now?
Yes, I am. How did I
Okay.
do?
You did great. You did fantastic. There's a number of comments in the chat. I'm going to just kind of catch up there, and then we will go. So if you look back in the chat, Chuck Nolan left a comment that new ventures and startups face many of these same risks. Perry West made the point that failure is not bad if it reflects a willingness to challenge the uncertain. Companies that always succeed with projects are probably not taking enough risks. Chuck mentions that there's a do-it-yourself accelerator guide that he's got that guides people through the minefield that kills about 75% of them otherwise. I'm going to take questions from the audience now. Thanks for a fantastic talk, David.
Thank you very much. Just a point on what Perry said. No, not all failures are failures. It's, you remember, if you look at a child, an infant who tries to get up and start walking, poor kid look at us up, two-legged people walking and walking at ease, and wants to get up and pushes to get up, oops, falls down on the bump and starts crying. Mommy or daddy says, it's okay, that's okay, you learn. Doesn't stop there. That is a first failure. Gets up again. Why that kid fails, by the way, all kids fail when start learning how to walk, it's because our muscles are not trained yet. The joints don't have enough strength, and the brain doesn't have that coordination of muscle and joint and balancing. So it takes time. That is that failure? No, that is the part of learning process. That's why usually in Agile, you've heard saying that fail fast and learn from it. Not that we embrace failing, by no means. What we're saying is, if there is a failure point, please pause for a moment and learn from it. Question. I had a lot of information that I shared with you, and I mostly, when I'm looking back at, let me see if I can go back to some of this data. Let's pause on the data part of it, and I'm just going back. Come on, David, I can do better. Before that, and this is the part that I'm talking about. I have about 170, 180 different pointer on quote unquote failures, project program failures. Well, quite frankly, do you remember about the Bay Bridge building? The initial cost was about 3 point something billion. Do you know how much it finished? Over 8. Over, yeah, go ahead.
About 3 times the cost.
But finished it, right?
Well, there are some pretty serious questions about how it finished.
And the serious question is coming from general project management methodology. We planned for 3 point something billion. We ended up like about close to 13 billion. So we overrun. Oops, no, we didn't overrun. We multiplied the budget by 4. Okay, and then, yeah, hold on. It's not just the budget that we planned. We also planned for scheduling, and we were supposed to finish it in 1.5 years, right? How long it took? About 6 years? Something
like that.
Okay. Does that constitute failure? One of those 70% up on the target market?
My customer will say, yes, that's a failure. If you're if you're 10 times over, yeah, it's a failure.
Yeah, Thank you, Gary. Yes, about the C-level support, and that is one of the major area that we're Gary Johnson asked if I can talk about the C-level support of different projects and programs. Quite frankly, if we don't have support from our leadership, the project is dead at birth.
What is C-level support?
C-level means chief operating officer, chief information officer,
Okay.
chief officers. Okay, and we don't have. It's like to me, it's like if we have a project giving birth, and mother doesn't support that birth. That's the C-level support. We need to have this vision trickling down from our C-level, from our leadership, and bring our team together as opposed to our and yours. Yes, go ahead.
David, Gary Johnson's got a question. Can you provide some practical experience in terms of what you've done to get C-level support?
It's not easy. It takes time. But
I think that's why he's asking the question. Do you have?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What happened, for instance, at a mid-sized customer asked me for their help moving and helping them on digital transformation. And upfront, the VP of engineering said Agile won't work, because he looked at my title and said, you're an Agile coach. Agile is not going to work in our organization. Okay, I'm not talking about Agile. Let's forget about Agile. What works in your organization? Then I started talking. Instead of just pushing, I just sat back and I listened to what and how they're doing. Their project managers partially was done by one of their architect in some Asian country, and other part was done by another lead engineer in South America, and he was overseeing the job as a lead project manager. So I had to sit back and work with him. And by the way, at every talk we had, I mentioned that this is part of the Agile thinking. That's what you're doing, is you're bringing your team together. And gradually, I didn't know, he had shared all the notes with our CEO and our investor. And before I know, our investor asked to have a couple of workshops for the team. And then I got engaged with through that investor on another startup. It all takes is sit back and listen to customers' concern. And that's one of the examples. Other examples, I've been in many some of the leadership talkings, and I have shared what I've learned. And I have had, as I said last night, my friend came back and said, yeah, project management had been really low. And right away I asked him, because he's investor now, he's part of the VC world. And I said, what do you think now? And he said, I'm going to talk with you later. And that is how we start communication. That is how I think, depending on the C-level's influence on the project and program, we need to talk our leaders' language, not our language. And that's why in one of the points I said active listening becomes part of the very important part of our equation of technical or functional project and program management. Did I answer your question, Gary? Okay.
So David, I can share one
Please.
thing that I found works by finding a small early win. Really helps to win over their support for any larger project, right? And kind of breaking into steps and that early win really helps get support.
I'm reading something by Lester. Thank you very much. Seemed like the roles of PMs.
So we have a question before Lester, David.
Yes, go ahead.
So Chuck Nolan had his hand raised. Chuck?
Yes, in terms of answering the question about past experience in reaching C-level executives. Number one, they tend sometimes to sit in on team meetings on important issues important enough to bring in someone as capable as David. Secondly, managers in well-managed companies tend to produce weekly reports, and encouraging them to put comments about the consulting, the project management, whatever's appropriate to the service you're providing, again, can give you that visibility. I'm limiting this just to responding to the question, how to get to C-level. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thanks. We have a question from Lester Cruz. Seems like the roles of project manager, program and product portfolio management need to converge within the Agile umbrella. Today, they're often siloed. So should there be a structural change in how Agile will be defined?
Excellent question, Lester. Excellent question. And I have 2 days ago, a friend of mine who I have worked with is in at the senior product ownership of a large project. I think it's about $180 million program. And he asked the same thing from his leadership. I'm going to tie that to Gary's question. And he said, David, we have 3 Scrum Masters and 2 product owners, and I'm there to lead them. And quite frankly, our directors and product leader, VP of product, cannot even identify the processes we need. I said, what are the processes? And he explained, I said, you're at the requirement gathering point, you're following waterfall. I said, yes. How can I say that to my leadership? I said, can you talk with your VP of marketing, with your product marketing? He said, I'll try to. Okay. When you talk with them, go from customers ask, fine tune and attend to what requirements are. Try to coach your product owners to look at product backlog and prioritize them based on what customers want tomorrow, not at the end of the year, and provide them. Let them inclusive within your product and processes. Quite frankly, Lester, we don't need structural change. We need gradual inclusion of how we're working together. When we talk about structural change or any kind of change, we've heard about change management. It's a big buzzword. I'm holding back because we're thinking about, again, sit back, let's plan for it and do. I'm saying let's plan and do. Let's do it together. So there is no need for sitting back and doing the change or bringing some other, how can I say, other framework and say, we're going to use Scrum.
Yeah, I still think though, what you articulated about how this does happen at the emotional level is great, and it works well with small teams and small organizations. But I think many times failure is because we're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. The organizational design does not exist, and we are trying to force fit a very agile concept into a very structured concept. My focus, I like to work a lot on organizational design, and I think it happens right up front when you're a nascent organization, because you don't want to be bringing down the whole scaffolding if you're successful. You want to be extending smoothly from where you are. So I think, it's important to consider, if you're a smaller organization, consider the organizational structure to begin with. It's not a question of change of structure, it's adopting the right structure, right?
Agree. And that is where when I'm saying that we can't go with predefined change processes, we're going to fail. We're going to add the change as we go through. That is going to have a lot of effect and being affected by cultural, by people involved, by rules and engagements, how we read each other, how we work together. And that is not something that I can, you see, trust is not something that I can come to your organization and I bring a bag of trust with me. I have to earn it. How do I earn it? Is by working with you within your organization, all the way from the team level to executive level. And we start changing gradually. If we come and say we want to change abruptly, this is what happens to GE. GE spent about $20 million here in East Bay, close to Pleasanton, San Ramon area, for just building an agile building. Gone.
So Dave, we've got a couple other questions. Let me stir these in if you don't mind. First from Diane McGlan. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. So you highlighted that PMs need to be better trained. What do you think organizations should be doing to meet that challenge?
I'm going to thank you, Diane. That's part of what I was thinking and I was talking. And that is the training part that mostly at C-level or senior management level, we tend to undermine it at different angle. We become project manager throughout our career. So I program or I design a great op-amp, and after 5, 6, 7 years, I become project manager because I know everybody who is doing what. So I can kind of coordinate these interdependencies. No, I become project manager after 5, 6 years. My title is project manager. Now I've been in my company for about 15 years. I'm project manager. Then when David comes and say, okay, in any of your project, what processes have you followed? Oh, that depends on what I'm doing. Okay. When do you plan? How do you execute? Have you looked at requirements? How do you gather the requirements? What methods you gather requirements? These are the things that we don't know because our project managers have grown through their career. And that's why at some of institutional organizations, we have here in Bay Area. I'm sorry, Diane, I know you're from Massachusetts area. I can talk here and probably even at your area. Here we have Stanford offering courses. We have Cal State East Bay, if you are at East Bay. We have University of UC Santa Cruz and UC Berkeley offering that. We have other organizations that link industries and businesses with project management, new ideas, new methods, new frameworks that as a program manager, as a leader of the project, we need to know about them. We may utilize only a few percentage of it, but we need to know about that. Please let me know if I can help. I know in your area, MIT has a very good program on project program management. Look at, I don't know how hard it is to get to other league, other leaders in that area, but I'm sure there are many areas. Let me know if I can help.
Okay. So I'm going to stir in a comment by Gary Johnson and then move on to a question from Jean-Pierre Sandfeld. On the job training with a good PM and a project is a great start. It can spark an interest, which can grow with continued education like David is presenting. That was from Gary. And then Jean-Pierre said, look, how do we apply these principles in a smaller scale if I'm just a solo contractor, solo consultant? What should a solo consultant take away from this talk?
Knowing how we can apply this emotional intelligence and processes in communication and connecting with our customers. Jean-Pierre, as a solo contractor, David have done way more than 200 contracts.
Sure.
You see that? What I do up front is before I do anything, I communicate with my customers. I ask them and I ask them many times till I'm clear about what they want. And quite frankly, during the communication, pre-project communication, without my customer knowing, I'm gathering the requirements. So I have the scope of my project well defined before we do anything, even before we have a contract signed. And that is the success. I start working with them, communication, and then bring myself to their level and see what they want. Looking at the windows, looking at the world through their window, and then understanding, is that something I can do solo? Or is there anybody in my network who can help me? And I start delegating. And that becomes a bigger offer to my customer. Guess what happened? I earn my customers' respect and their testimonials. It is not that I don't see any magic wand on what I've talked. It is just a process of how we live together. Did I answer your question, Jean-Pierre?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Well, I'll take one or two final questions or give David a chance to sum. Any final questions from folks? Question from Robert Tatkin. How does a company protect their investment of training employees or contractors once they've got these skills from going elsewhere?
Say again.
I'll give a quick answer. So he says, what if we train them and they leave? And the joke, there's an old joke that says, what if we don't train them and they stay? But I'll let you give the longer answer.
That's exactly. Thank you, Sean. I couldn't say better. Let's kick back and pause and look at the public sector as opposed to private sectors and what's going on there. I've served our public sector as well. And over 80% of our employees, of our talents at public sector are collecting money, and they becoming a dinosaur with no teeth, as opposed to our private sector. Because we're continuously learning and growing, we have more to say. An architect in public sector needs to read and elongate what he or she is providing to the organization, as opposed to in private sector can go on top of it. If I don't know much, I go and ask Chuck, I asked Sean, I asked Marina, I say, look, you are expert, help me. And that is how we train each other. Guess what happened? I rather train next generation leaders and let that person grow and go somewhere else so he or she can provide better value than David. Did I answer your question? That's what I'm talking about.
All right, Dave, you want to give us a summary and then we'll wrap.
Yes, that is what I was. Thank you, Sean. That's what I was talking about, servant leadership. A leader doesn't want to stay leader. Leader doesn't need follower. Leader is somebody who can help building and creating other leaders who are going to be better than themselves. That's the mindset. That's the agile mindset. We are all in it together. Your growth and your prosperity is my prosperity. So let me know if there's anything that I can help. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everybody here.
Thank you.
I'm available. You have, I think you have my information at the last slide. So if you can get the last slide and let me know if there's anything I can do, help. Appreciate your time. Have a beautiful lunch today if you're in California area, and thank you, Diane, and others coming and joining us from other parts of the country.